Hello, and welcome to Talkin' Tolkien, name subject to change. Here we are talking Rings of Power, episodes 3 and 4. My name is Peter Bond, and with me today is our producer, AJ Fileri.
Hello, it's me. I'm here.
How is your sloppy stember, AJ?
My sloppy stember is good. This is now the second time you've brought this up. Well, I guess technically the first time in the real world, because that was on the Dust of Dreams first episode that we recorded. That won't be out until October 7th, 2022.
It's true. I thought about it. It won't even come out during sloppy stember.
Yeah. Sloppy stember is going great, I guess. And for those of you curious, it's sloppy S''TEMBER.
Perfect.
It's the philosophy that we're living by for the month of September.
I have some great news. I don't know about where our watchers, listeners are, but here around the city of brotherly love, it is finally a kind of a crisp autumn morning. I had a beautiful run. It was an amazing time. So, and last but not least, before our discussion, what's that? Another seltzer. I drank one on my Botulian Corporal Broach podcast last night. So,
which also won't be out for another week at the time of recording this episode. But wow, congratulations.
Let's discuss episode 3 of the Rings of Power.
Okay.
AJ, what did you make of this episode?
I liked this episode, is the thing.
Sure, me too. Had a great time.
Yeah, I had a good time watching it. Something I'm realizing coming, or as like the season goes on, I guess, is I'm really hot on the Elrond storyline.
And Elrond, am I right?
And Elrond, am I right?
No, it's like one of the best storylines for sure.
Yeah. And so like whenever Elrond's not on screen, I'm like, let's get to Elrond. What are we doing? So episode 3 doesn't have any Elrond in it.
It helps that Elrond's storyline is just like he has a good friend.
Yeah, it's
and
just like
him being friends is a large part of the story.
Yeah. But anyway, so yes, you asked my opinion on episode 3, not my Elrond takes. No, I liked it. I mean, the orc camp stuff was interesting. There's a really cool fight sequence. I think the chains are awesome.
Really, really cool.
Yeah, I mean, the Numenor stuff is like okay. I think that is better in episode 4 maybe, but no, I mean, I generally liked this whole episode. I'm still looking forward to the rest of the season, I guess.
I cannot. So you were a little cool on the Numenor stuff. Cannot
Not
believe
cool
it.
on it. I don't know. It's just like, I mean, it's stunning. Like, don't get me wrong. We said this before that like the show looks amazing. And so like, you know, seeing Numenor for the first time, like this big reveal, whatever, is like awesome.
Yeah, it totally worked when they were like, whoa, look at this crazy kingdom. Yeah. I was like, whoa. This is crazy.
Yeah. No, I mean, the stuff in there was good. It was just, it was no running up chains and like doing a front flip.
Yeah, well, that was sick as shit.
In half, so.
Yeah. One thing though, Numenor, that section and the episode had huge horse girl energy. It is truly undeniable.
She loved the horse.
Her whole body changes. Like we're riding across the island, you know, slow-mo shots of the horse, the hooves, her hair, amazing.
Yeah. I will say Galadriel's storyline specifically, I think is really interesting, and like the stuff that she does going to the tower, doing all this stuff, finding out that the mark or whatever is like a map, like that's cool.
I think she's the paper's good. Like here's what I like. So many elements of Galadriel's storyline. I just think I struggle to connect with her as a character because like her emotion is always like, we must fight against the darkness, we cannot let Sauron, and I'm just like, okay, yeah, like I agree, but it's like I just, you know, I don't connect to that much. But
yeah, it's a very intense energy from Galadriel.
Yeah, she's very dedicated to her journey, which I respect. I just I think I relate more to some other characters. But I do think I'm enjoying her more, and it's funny, I was actually thinking today, I feel like this is doing the rare thing prequels do that actually make me understand and appreciate her more as a character. I think in the Fellowship of the Ring, they show up and they're like, it's Galadriel. Whoa. And I was always like, even now, I'm like, okay, like who gives a shit? Who's the like I don't fucking care, you know? And now
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my god, Galadriel's like so cool. She's a big deal, you know?
Yeah.
So
On
I
the
do
opposite,
on the opposite.
I was gonna say on the opposite end, what do you think about Isildur? That whole thing.
All right. First off, he's a hottie. Number two.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm all in on this. I'm all in on this stuff. You know, I'm so interested in him. I want to learn everything about this guy and go on the journey. You know, the fact that I know what the ending is, I don't care about that at all. You know, I'm so interested in him. His sister's fun. His hot dad's cool. So the whole family's interesting, and I'm excited to learn more about what's going on with them. And I guess he doesn't want to sail the seas. I don't really, some of that, I don't know. I don't really actually understand some of his motivations there.
Yeah, I guess if you're sailing the seas, you're not going west deeper into Middle Earth. You know, you're going on the seas. I don't know.
But now I guess he's going to Middle Earth. So
now he's going to Middle Earth.
Obviously.
Congratulations.
What did you make of the introduction of Isildur?
Wild pronunciation. I was, like I said at the first episode, I'm not like a super like Lord of the Rings head, but I did recognize that name.
Sure.
So I was like, oh, okay, cool. I thought this was like way longer ago, but I guess not. I think that's where I landed. Is like I thought this was like a really long time ago or something. Like
I think it's still pretty long.
But like, why is he still alive in the movies?
He's not. He's dead in the beginning of Fellowship of the Ring.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you'll recall he dies, I think, in the Mirror of the Dead Man post that battle at the end of the Second Age, and then the ring gets taken, then gets found by Gollum.
I won't recall anything about the Second Age, actually.
Okay, well, the Second Age is what we're currently watching.
Yes.
But anyway, so then the ring gets lost there for a long time, and I mean, Gollum has it for a long time, so I don't think it's...
Okay.
I don't think it's recent, and he's definitely dead.
Okay, then I guess I don't know who Isildur is then. Very funny. I do know his name, though. Weird. So I guess that's just,
he really is just in the opening scene where there's that scene where during the thing that Galadriel narrates, where there's that shot of Elrond being like, "Get rid of the ring," and he's like, "No."
Yeah. Okay. Got it. Okay. Man, sorry to everybody who likes Lord of the Rings. Like I apologize. No, I mean it's cool. I'm curious to see. I don't know. I think I'm more curious to see like what the mission around these people ends up being. Like I'm less interested in like the specifics of Isildur and Galadriel and whoever else is going to be on this quest. And more interested, I think, just in the quest in general.
Interesting. I feel the reverse, but
really,
yeah, I'm interested in these folks and what they're doing. We also, I think, learn in episode 3 that this totally blew me away. The kind of mysterious sailor guy had like a hidden identity, and that like he was like a king in hiding. Did you? Yeah, stunned me.
Yeah, no, that was wild.
I'm being facetious, by the way. I'm hoping it's translating.
That what? You weren't stunned by it? You like knew that he was a fake, like a runaway heir?
Obviously, he was a guy. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't just going to be guy, like...
Obviously, I didn't think he was going to be some, like, the long-lost heir of
I'm just a rando, period.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Yeah, I wasn't surprised that he was a character, but I was surprised that his character is king.
Yeah, it was so... It was exactly what it would be,
Yeah, I guess it was exactly what it would be.
It was exactly what it would be.
Was there anything else in this episode that really struck you? I mean, we didn't really talk a whole lot about the orc camp stuff besides just continually bringing up the chain thing.
Yeah, well, the chain stuff is really cool. That's why we keep bringing it up. That's really awesome. I guess there was some Harfoot stuff in that episode as well. Oh, they're not really in episode 4, which we just watched.
Yes.
Yeah, they're kind of debating about whether the stranger should come with them, and then the stranger kind of ends up coming with them, of course. What did you make any of that?
I mean, I'm glad that he's coming with them and helping them bring the cart.
Sure.
I always like those scenes. I think I just like the vibes a lot of the Harfoot stuff.
I think they're the ones I'm most tuned out of.
Yeah, I'm really curious about the stranger, obviously. Um, and just I don't know. Like I said, I like the vibes, and I like Nori and Poppy as characters. They're fun to be around. Yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah, I just kind of, I don't know. For some reason, I haven't been able to connect with them, but I hope I do, and I'm interested to see where it goes. I think, I hope we learn more about the guy, our big guy.
I would hope we learn more about the guy, yeah. And that they don't just like leave us in the lurch and we just don't learn anything.
They never come back.
They'll just never, yeah, they never come back. That is the end of that storyline. Is he helps the Harfoots.
A guy fell from the sky, helped us.
Yeah, I did really like the view that we get into kind of the like cultural significance of like being a nomadic society.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I thought that stuff was really cool. I really liked the scene where they like read through all the people they lost that year.
That was cool.
I really liked that. It was sad to
just
see
hanging
that Poppy's
with the
whole
Harfoots.
Family died.
Yeah, no, that was bad.
Yeah. But I like, yeah. So that just like for me just adds to the vibes of that whole thing. I'm having a great time anytime I'm with the Harfoots. I would hang out.
They have a great aesthetic, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I really enjoyed episode 3. Probably more than episode 4.
Really?
I think so. And I think something I was thinking about last week was, listen, I think I don't really love Middle Earth. You know, it's not really my favorite setting. I find it somewhat boring, and the names I'm not a fan of, and the vibe is not my vibe. However, I do so long for this type of story, this type of like elevated quest story, this type of epic story, this type of kind of adventure story, you know. You know, I like, you know, Game of Thrones, and I like Malazan, and these types of things that are trying to maybe comment on genre or do something subversive. But, you know, maybe the dragon doesn't always need to be a metaphor for my grief, you know? Maybe sometimes he's just going to use the chains, and it's like the chains are a weapon, and he's like gonna kill the warg with it. And, you know, I'm having a good time with that. And I actually, you know, I'm sure someone is actually doing some sort of thoughtful writing about this series. And I'm not going to partake. That is not how I'm choosing to appreciate.
If you thought this was an academic pursuit, get out of here.
Yeah, you cannot make me think about the themes of this show. I do think that there's some well-written parts, and I can like when I angle my head, you can see the angles to it, and it is looking good. But I just want to have Galadriel step on the sword, and then the guy lifts the sword, and then she kind of jumps up and kills this ice troll, you know?
Yeah.
So I think I really enjoyed episode 3 for that reason, and some of the world building. I love sitting with the world of the dwarves. I think that's another part of the reason I really love that Elrond storyline.
Yeah.
What's that dwarf's name? I forget it. I'm not good with the names. All of the names are just.
I like made a note to myself, like, don't forget these names.
I think Durden, maybe?
Durin and Disa. Yes.
Durin and Disa.
Yeah. Disa is his wife. Durin is his name.
Disa's great. We get a lot of her in episode 4.
Yeah.
Anything else to talk about with episode 3?
I just wanted to I think touch on the like, I don't know, reveal, I guess, that like there are more orcs than we thought there were, or something of when they like escape the hole.
Oh, it's so cool too. They have like these tunnels that are kind of networking around the Southlands. Really cool stuff. And I also love the reveal when Galadriel's in the library and she's like, "Ooh, look at this, the old parchment." Totally great. And it's like, "Oh, the sigil is actually Mordor's stuff." You know, you're like, I'm just like, awesome. This is the exact type of thing. It's like, oh, the sigil's actually mountains.
Yeah. It's good stuff.
Yeah. No, that's fun. And I think it's kind of fun to tap into some of this like origin stuff to be like, okay, well, and we kind of know where we're going, and it is kind of fun. I mentioned it earlier, knowing Isildur's betrayal's coming. It's like you're kind of sitting and knowing what the destination is. Do you know what I mean? And that's really interesting. I think that's kind of an interesting thing to loom over the series in a way, and they're playing with it really adeptly, dramatically, I would say.
Yeah. I would compare it to kind of like Troll's storyline from House of Chains and then going back to Midnight Tides. And like, we know where he ends up at the beginning of House of Chains, but like, how does he get there? I remember when we were reading through that, we were like, what ends up, like, how does he end up chained to the, bottom of a lake or whatever? So it's a similar vibe. I'm having a great time.
Very Star Wars prequel trilogy, that's where we're going, baby.
Yeah.
I'm sure that was their big inspiration when creating
I think
this
so.
show.
Yeah. Should we move on now to episode 4?
Last thing I want to say about the orc camp, rest in peace those elves that die. And then I think it was really great when he gets up and then he's like, oh, I see. This was all for naught. There's nothing up here. People dying. I'm going to be, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then he's kind of brought down and he's going to go introduced to this guy whose name I forget. Arda?
Oh my God. Adar. God.
Adar.
I have the names until you're like, I forget what the name is. And then I'm like, I also forget what the name is.
Well, it's just, it doesn't help that all the names sound pretty similar, And it's
they
like, I get it.
Similar structure. Yeah. So Adar's coming.
Anyway, I complained to you about this the other day. Anyway. So yes, we're going to move on to episode 4 now.
Mm-hmm.
Titled The Wave, maybe?
I don't know. I didn't pull the titles up. We're doing great today.
Hey, I'm feeling great. Yeah, The Wave. AJ, what did you think of episode 4?
I thought episode 4 was good. I liked the Numenor stuff. I liked, obviously, all the Elrond, and we literally just said his name, and I've already forgotten it again.
Durden?
Durin.
Tyler Durin.
Durin. I love all the Elrond and Durin stuff, obviously. And we got to see the cool Sauron sword again. So
really cool. That
always fucks.
Oh, we gotta talk about that scene because they get a classic old dude to be like,
Yeah. But no, I thought it was good. I thought getting more of the like, I don't know, like political vibes, I guess, of like the Queen Regent and stuff.
Sure.
Was kind of interesting. And I like that Galadriel at one point is just like, what are you going to do? Throw me in jail? And then they throw her in jail. I thought that was pretty funny.
I'm glad that the politics of the show, it's like, to compare it to House of Dragon, which we're talking about, that's like such a political show. There's a lot of investment in explaining different factions or like what they want or how these different elements are clashing. And this, it's like, cut to mean guardsmen standing on the street explaining why the queen is bad, actually. It's like, it is such a different style of telling that type of story. So it just is, I reveled in that tone, so sorry, I kind of interrupted. You were saying?
That's basically it. I enjoyed this episode. I'm curious, you said you liked 3 more than 4. What were you missing in episode 4 that you got in 3?
I felt like 3 just had a few more set pieces or kind of things going on. I feel like 4 just was a little bit slower, but I had a good time. It wasn't like I was down on it,
Why did you hate episode 4?
I gotta say, I'm really relieved. When we started the show, I was pretty cool on it, but I do think I've really warmed up and I'm having a much better time on the show.
Yeah, it's just a fun time show to be in. Now that the weather's getting a little cooler, the show is kind of like a bowl of French onion soup.
My God, preach. It is totally a show I want to wear a sweater and kind of like cozy up in. And what's that? Numenor. What's that?
Yeah, like this is a show I could see myself coming back to, I don't know, in like February or something, and just like watching it again just because it's just like nice. It's like fun.
It's not a summer show. That's what I would say.
It's definitely not a summer show, no. No. I'm curious how the vibes of House of the Dragon are gonna feel in the fall times.
Yeah, that feels less cozy to me. I do think
Yeah.
there's a cozy element to that.
I think
world.
that's what it is. I think that's just like the Lord of the Rings kind of Middle Earth vibe in general. Is it's just kind of like it is just like a blanket. You know what I mean?
Totally. Or maybe that's just
nice
because I watched it as a kid.
That could also be it could be a full nostalgia thing. Yeah, if you don't think this show is a cold weather show, let us know in the comments. That's called engagement.
Engagement, baby. Social media strategies. What's up?
No, so I think the Numenor stuff is fun. I like the world stuff, but I also just like the I don't know. I guess it's kind of what I was saying. Like the politics in this show, and like you were just saying, like they're not to the level of like House of the Dragon, like people betraying people. It's just like Galadriel talking to the Queen Regent, and then being like, "Well, my dad knows the king, so I'm gonna go talk to the king." Or I guess she knows the king, right? But like it's not super. You don't have to think super hard about it, I guess.
Well, it's like it's just in a different tone. It's like, oh, we'll have one guy who will represent the points of view, who will just stand on the street corner,
Yeah.
Which is a classic thing. And actually, you just sent us this news article about race in D&D.
Yeah.
So since they're kind of doing this play on immigration, race, xenophobia, that type of stuff, it was definitely on my mind how those dynamics reflect how race operates in fantasy and in that show versus out of its own world. But it was interesting, I guess, to see them kind of have that discussion and have this elf human tension, which I'm sure will come to play in the future.
Yeah, it felt like they were really playing it up in this episode. Like, I mean, we get the whole town crier, town square thing, but like, I don't know. Every time anybody was saying anything in Numenor, it was like these darn elves.
I hate
this darn
elves.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't know. It doesn't really do much for me, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. It doesn't really add a whole lot. I think the history of Numenor is interesting. Of like, it's an ex, or like an elf-backed kind of place that then they, like turned their back on the elves or whatever. I think that's really
Numenor
cool
is very interesting for sure.
Yeah. What about the mine stuff? How'd you feel about the dwarf city stuff?
This was awesome. This could have been the whole episode, and here's several good points. Number 1, cool rocks and people looking at them. Number 2, dwarves who have beards that are in their armor. The armor has a beard. Really good. Number 3, what's that? Oh, I'm going to say some words. Actually, the secret wall in the mine. See, all in on this stuff. This is great. And I also just love that. I love that scene where Disa is kind of doing that lie, and they're kind of having that conversation. That was so fun.
That's really fun, yeah.
And then the Durin scene when he's kind of talking about the mithril and what the ring, what this is going to become the rings, right? Like this, this material will become the titular rings of power.
It has to, right? I mean, we know mithril's used in armor, like chainmail at one point.
I have no idea, but that's why they're building the forge, right? And how awesome that scene with the dad was really cool. But then I love that they're seeding this thing where the dad's like, well, you got to find out what this forge is about. And it just feels like it made me really worried that the friendship between Elrond and Durin is going to be hurt in a way. And then, and at that moment in that conversation, I was like, shit, I'm emotionally invested in these two good guys being friends,
Yeah. No, for sure. I agree. I could watch an entire, like the whole series, I think, could just be about Durin and Elrond. And I'm like, yeah, two bros hanging out in a cave, it's really interesting. I think the history that they
you say that
as characters
you say that, AJ, but every time I've invited you to go into a cave with me, you sort of like, Peter, no,
I didn't say I want to be Elrond and Durin. I said I appreciate it.
Anyway, you were saying.
No, yeah, but I think their dynamic is great. I agree that scene with Disa and Elrond kind of exchanging like, "You're lying, no, I'm not," blah blah blah. I think that's great. I think the fucking the part where Elrond like can hear them because that's a thing that elves can do. They can just like hear very far distances or like lip read
Really
or
good.
whatever.
Really good.
I love that shit. And yeah, I think the Mithril is wild.
How crazy was it? Speaking of elves and sight, when Elrond's just rattling random facts off about his dad, a lot of Elrond's dad lore in this episode.
Yeah, his dad became a star or whatever.
Dad became a star, and then the Lord Architect guy is like, oh, by the way, your dad like saw into the future, and he was like saying this to me. It's like, what is going on with this dad? They're just dropping absolutely insane facts, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know, Pete.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just saying, if you told me your father became a star, I would have some follow-up questions, you know?
You mean that wouldn't just encourage you to go talk to your dad?
Well, I think it's important to speak to your parents if that relationship's, anyway, whatever. But
yeah, but no, I really like that stuff. The fact that Durin was like, no, you keep that. It's like, man, this is you're putting a lot of faith in him keeping that mithril ore.
Yeah, well, that's definitely going to lead to some.
It's going to lead to something.
Stuff.
I'm really worried that their relationship is going to like blow up or something. You know?
Yeah, it seems. Well, no matter what, it's going to get in trouble. That's how. Unfortunately, this is a story. So trouble.
This is
coming.
A story. That is true. Trouble is coming. What did you think about the scene after the mine collapse with Desus doing the mountain song or whatever? I thought that scene fucking ruled. I thought it was awesome.
So good. It made me think, I wonder how they cast her. Do you think they cast her with that as being a part of the process, you know? Because, like, her voice is great.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that could have not been her voice. You know, they could
easily.
They could have just overdubbed it. So I don't know. I could see that maybe was a part of the process, but I don't think that would be like a deal breaker.
Interesting.
Because she's great generally.
Yeah, she rules
as that character.
But
I love that thing. I loved all the mountain talk in this one. You know, that he swears on the mountain.
I also love how that music cuts in over the last scene, and I just like, it didn't even read to me as a scene transition, which I thought was so cool.
It's really good.
Yeah. And that actually comes from this like rescue Theo who gets lost, and then elf ranger guy escapes from the orc encampment.
Well, they let him go.
And escapes. Okay, I really tried to. I didn't do that well.
He talks. He gets confronted by Adar.
So he meets Adar. What was your read on this guy? I kind of zoned out during that scene. I'm not gonna lie to you.
No, I mean, there's not a whole lot in there. Like, they say stuff about, like, your people are lying to you. You're the things you know are not the things that you think you know, like, whatever. So I'm curious to see where that goes, you know, in the like last time on Rings of Power thing, the scene where he's like walking out of the darkness, it's like overdubbed with somebody saying like Sauron has taken many names or something. So I'm like, okay, they want us to think that this is Sauron or something. I don't know. I was like, when he was an elf, I was like, oh wow, like I was surprised by that.
I will just say there is no way he is Sauron. My official opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I totally don't think he is. But yeah, I'm curious about him as a character to see what he does. Like, now that we don't have any of our, I guess, POV characters, but I guess that doesn't matter because we've hopped back and forth to the orcs before. But like, now that he just is the villain, like, is the next time we see him, he's going to get in some big sword fight or something, and then, you know, is that going to be his whole thing? Or are we going to get more views into like his goings on? Like, is he a POV now, you know?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question. I mean, obviously they tie back to him at the end of this episode with like, oh, we're gonna go attack the tower or whatever. Yeah, I guess I kind of have the feeling that, you know, obviously they're gonna try and build over the story they're trying to tell about how Sauron kind of develops these forces and leading this battle and blah blah blah. So I do think they kind of need to have a short-term antagonist, so to speak, you know, because they can't really go all Sauron at this point. I feel like Sauron won't become Sauron, so to speak, until later in the story. Mm-hmm. So I do think they kind of need a short-term enemy, so to speak. So I think it's probably fulfilling that plot function, but I do think I'm curious to see what they're going to try and do with it and really who this guy is. He doesn't really look how I thought he would, and
yeah,
he is interesting. He definitely raised questions to me. So
yeah, yeah.
He kind of lets him go in a classic. Actually, go give a warning to the place. And then he kind of rescues Theo, who is out looking for food, and then they all kind of get escape back. So let's talk about this little Theo's his name, right? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Let's talk about his storyline. He kind of almost gets encountered by the orcs. They know he has the hilt, and then he speaks to this guy who I guess used to have the hilt. So what did you make of him this episode?
Yeah, so I mean, I think Theo's character, like I think all of this stuff makes sense for the character that they have built in the first 2 episodes of who Theo is. Like he's this kind of headstrong kid who wants to do, whatever he can for his people without really kind of thinking it through. So like for his motivation to go back to be like, oh, well, there's a lot of food in the root cellars or whatever. Like, I know that we should go get that, even though, there are orcs there. I think that was, I think Theo's a good character. I don't, obviously he doesn't make the best choices all the time, but that makes for interesting storytelling. Plus we got to see him use the sword again. But this was like, it seemed like he like had this mastery over the sword already, because like he grabbed it and knew to just like twist it into his wrist to like activate it, which was funny. But it's also a cursed sword that's probably like stab me into your arm.
I also think it's funny that like he's like, okay, one sec. let me defend you, and let me defend myself. But
I did think it was interesting. Like when I thought when he used it, like the orcs would be like, oh my gosh, like
sure. I thought
you have to come meet our person,
or like kneel or something.
Yeah,
like
something. But it was like, no, we need. They're clearly just interested in the sword and not in the person who has the sword.
100%.
Yeah.
And then that conversation with the guy who used to have the sword, or it made me think that maybe this hilt thing is like one of many things, and it's not necessarily like a soul artifact. I don't know. That maybe it was like a part of people who served Morgoth, or like his army, or something like that. So I don't really know, but it was really cool, and I love a scary old dude who is like,
Yeah, we've got matching cuts on our arms. Be ready for when Sauron
Put her there,
comes.
kid.
Yeah, like pound it. Yeah, I was interested in that. I mean, I think that's cool that there is like a Morgoth agent on the inside, I guess. Not that I think he's gonna like live. I think he's gonna be like, I love Morgoth, and they're gonna kill him anyway, because. Just cause, that's how that stuff goes. I think.
The old guy or Theo?
They're gonna kill the old guy.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if we'll even see him again, to be honest.
Really? I feel like at some point the old guy like holds Theo like with the sword to his neck or something, and then either gets like shot by a bow, or Theo stabs him with the sword or something. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Well, I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah, I think and Galadriel escapes. She climbs the tower, and then at the end of the episode, the Numenor's men and Galadriel are all going to set sail east, including Isildur. And
what did you think about the scene with the seeing orb? That is like a direct mirror of the Saruman scene. Like, how did that clock for you?
Yeah, I found that really interesting. I guess I didn't know that. I mean, the Palantir, obviously in Lord of the Rings, is only used in that kind of almost negative sense, or like in that communion with Sauron. So I think it was cool here to see the Palantir used in another way, even though it is still having this kind of apocalyptic, prophetic vision of doom, so to speak.
Yeah. I just thought that was great from like a craft standpoint.
I think
the directorial standpoint.
The initial wave scene was really cool. I don't know. It's just the whole. It's a nice, cozy world to be in, and I enjoy. They obviously put so much effort into the craft of the sets, and I think that really shows, and it's really beautiful.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Cool. Sounds like we're having a good time with the show.
I'm having a great time.
Yeah.
I'm really liking the show. I'm looking forward to next week's.
I've deeply warmed up on the show. I just still am just not like, every time someone brings up the Valar, I'm just like, stop talking about this. You know, I'm just like, I just cannot connect to the lore of this world. So maybe it's going to change. I've already changed so much over the 4 episodes. So
yeah, when we talked after we recorded the last episode, you were like, I'm really cool on this show. I really don't think I'm liking it very much.
Yeah, and I now feel I'm so relieved that I'm having a way better time with it. So
me too, buddy.
Awesome. Well, listen, excited to hear what other people think of the show, and we weren't planning on doing these together. It just kind of happened with our schedules. So we don't know if we're gonna do 5 and 6 together or do 5 and 6. We're just kind of figuring it out. Awesome. Anything else, AJ?
Yeah. No, I think that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Obviously, Pete said we want to hear your thoughts and stuff, so let us know. You can let us know in the Discord. That link is in the description. You can let us know in the comments also. Yeah, tweet at us, whatever. Curious to hear your thoughts. So
yeah, this is one of those times people share deep Tolkien cuts, and I'm glad that someone else is doing the work because I'm not interested in doing the work for this. You know?
Sure.
Sure. Because there are, I'm like interested. Yeah. Anyway, whatever. So, shout out. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for watching. We will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.